Good morning, everybody from Seattle. All right, Joplin, how are you this morning? This afternoon? You're on the other side of the world. Joplin, are you there? Things take a while to get over there. Joplin, hello. Joplin, can you hear us? We're having trouble already. 10 seconds in.
Hi, Matt.
All right, good. We're here. How are you?
Very fine, thank you.
Good.
I love the intro music.
Great. Yeah, it's we have a bunch of different songs. That one's called Feeding the Ducks. Can you believe it? Feeding the Ducks.
Wow.
Yeah, it's the only one I know offhand that I can remember because of the name.
Oh,
So, how are you doing this evening, Joplin? All right. Little technical difficulties here, so we're going to try it one more time, Joplin. So I'll just take over myself real quick. That my name is Matt Sokup, and I'm a cloud advocate here at Microsoft. We're running the .NET team, and we lost Joplin for a little bit, so you're going to hear me talk more than you probably wanted to, but that's okay. So today we are going to talk about generating code and images with Azure OpenAI. So this is actually kind of cool. So overall, in addition to talking about generating code and images, we are going to be, this is one part of 5 different parts of an overall, what we're calling the GenAI Credential Challenge. And so what this is that we have 5 live streams going. This is part 3 of those. And those support a Learn module challenge. And within that, you can take 7 different Learn modules. They're all grouped together so you can easy access. And then once you complete those, you'll be well prepared to take an assessment exam, totally free. And that assessment exam will help you pass a credential, generative AI credential that you can take and stamp on your resume, stamp on your LinkedIn, show all your friends, show all your neighbors, and completely brag about it. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about code. We're going to be talking about images, generating those with Azure OpenAI. So next up, what do we want to talk about? And oh my goodness, my fonts aren't super great here, but we do have 5 different live streams that cover 7 different modules. And last week we kicked off with, hey, Joplin, welcome back. So you are muted right now. Let me unmute you. There you go. And so, Joplin, I'm just telling everybody about how we are running the GenAI Credential Challenge and how we have 5 different live streams and have a Learn Challenge with 7 different modules in there. And then you can get a credential if you pass the exam, which all the modules will help you do. So the 5 live streams, we started those last week with building apps with Azure OpenAI Service. So just a general introduction to how to create an Azure OpenAI service and like playing around in the Azure OpenAI playground and just kind of getting used to everything that is in there. And then we follow that up with a great session on prompt engineering. So prompt engineering, there's 2 ways to think about prompt engineering. There's what we use as users when you're like typing into Copilot or ChatGPT from a one way, from what your users are doing. But then there's the way the developers think about prompt engineering too, where you have things like system prompts. You have the user prompts coming in, and then you also have the assistant prompt coming back. And then you have to manage all these and put them together. So definitely check out that second session, and all those AKA links will bring you directly to the YouTube recording for those. So we are on the third session right now, where we're going to build kind of like I'm going to call it like a GitHub Copilot super light edition. So it's not anything nearly as cool as what Copilot does or what Copilot can do, but it's kind of give you a kind of a background of how you might use ChatGPT or Azure OpenAI to help you develop some code. And then our last two sessions, which are going to also happen this week, tomorrow and then on Thursday, is implementing RAG, which is the retrieval augmented generation pattern, or chatting with your data. That's going to happen tomorrow at 4 p.m. Pacific time. So I have two folks on my team who are going to go through that. And then on Thursday, we're going to talk about responsible generative AI. So making sure your system doesn't do anything that might go off the rails and be kind of weird. You want to keep it so it's good, essentially. Jofflet, what do you think about everything that's been going on? Jofflet, we are muted again. Let's see. I'm going to see. There we go.
I unmuted now.
Yep.
Okay. So I first of all loved the first two sessions in the series. The first one, Bruno and yourself. I mean, I loved how easy it was to actually utilize the playground and do all of the things you needed to do. A lot of times when you needed to build your AI solutions, people are really scared because of how technical they are. But it's really easy for you to get started utilizing the amazing resources on Azure OpenAI Service. And then prompt engineering gives you an in-depth look into really happens behind the scene, which makes it super cool. Today we're going to be like also going a little bit closer into that. Um, and I think it's something that those who want to get more conversant with AI should actually try as much as possible to, you know, take part in. But most importantly, I think it's also important that they try as much as possible to complete the learning path so they get access to like the credential.
Yeah. And so we'll go over a little bit of what the learning path covers today as well. And so just looking at one comment. Yeah. So we have one of our producers sitting on the background here. So Angel, if you could drop in the links for the sessions, might make it easier for everybody just to be able to jump in on them for both the YouTube sessions and then maybe also the overall Learn challenge too. That would be great. So cool. So let's get it going and talk about what we're going to be doing today. Today, specifically, we are going to be generating code and images with Azure OpenAI Service. So both kind of using Azure OpenAI to help you out while you're coding, and then making some images with it too. So let's get right at it. Let's start writing some code. I mean, let's start, we're going to kind of see how we can write functions from both natural language. So I can just describe something, Jofflet. I can say, you know what, write me a function that sorts or looks for commas with regular expressions with C#. I could write something like that just by describing it and have it pop out something. And that's cool. And
Yeah,
we're also going
that
to
sounds cool.
yeah, I mean, because there's no way I can do that without much trial and error. And then we're going to translate between coding languages, like going from C# to Python, or maybe even F#, because nobody knows how to write F#. And then we could also have it understand some code for us, or help it explain some code, what's going on. So like if we grab some things like off the internet, because nobody copies code off the internet, we can just ask it, hey, what's going on here? So we can help understand it before we start doing that copy paste everywhere. And then we can have it help write some tests or help us fix some bugs. So Droplet, how often do you
Okay.
use ChatGPT to help you out with writing
Uh,
code?
a lot of times when I have to use ChatGPT, it's about trying to state the problem in such a way that ChatGPT is able to understand. But then I think this is lots easier because you are using a language that's it's able to generate it for you in simpler ways. It's able to do all you need to do in simpler ways. Plus, it gives you out your response in specific ways. ChatGPT might not fully give you the exact response or exact properties you're looking out for. It's really exciting. I can't wait to see what you are going to come up with, Matt. So I guess I should let you dive straight in to
Well,
see the cool stuff you do.
I'm excited to see what I come up with too, because I'm just gonna go way off the rails and see what happens. So let's start sharing my screen here. I'm gonna make it just a tad bit bigger. Alrighty, so let's go and try to cover everything. There we go. And I'm gonna bump up the font size. All right, so here we are. So this is the module that we're gonna be covering. So one of the AKA MS links that we should be popping into the chat right now, and I see Angel has done that, so that's great, is this. And so what this does, this is one of the overall modules of those 7 I was talking about that sits right here in the overall learning path. And so we can start running through here, and this is going to actually just kind of bring you through everything that you want to ever could want to know about generating code, like so constructing code from natural language, and tells you like, you know what, go ahead and write a function for binary search in Python, and it shows you how to do that. So this overall, I'm not going to spend too much time here in the actual module. Rather, I'm going to jump into some code. Now, before I do, so what's cool? What's cool here is that the module itself doesn't expect you to actually go through and write code on your local machine. Is that we give you a virtual machine that you can run stuff on. And so I'm going to launch this lab. And so while this loads up, I'm going to start lab, and I'll share my screen there. It takes a couple minutes for it to load up, but essentially is that it's really cool. You can see that there's no instructions here for you to run through, and that's because everything's over on the lab side of things. And so it takes a couple minutes to start up, and so I won't necessarily be going through and running step by step on the lab because I'm no good at going step by step. So we're going to cover overall the same things. But once that starts up, I'll show you what you would be looking at when you run through. And so it's really neat that you don't have to have like all the SDKs or whatnot installed on your machine. You can just go ahead and use the virtual machine yourself. So one of the first things that we're going to want to do here is go off and let me make this a little bit larger. Is the first thing that you want to do when you're talking to Azure OpenAI is that you have to, one, provision the service, and two, do deployments. So I've already gone ahead and provisioned the service, and number one in this series shows you all about how to do that. So I've kind of stepped ahead and provisioned the service in Azure itself, the Azure portal. And after that, once I get here, I'm able to kind of go through and start messing with the certain deployments. So a deployment you can kind of think of as a model. You can see I have GPT-4, GPT-4o, GPT-4o mini, and so on. So they're all deployed. So what, you're saying? So here's where the cool thing happens. You can see right here, there's something called playgrounds. Arrow, 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 arrow. How about this? Playgrounds right there. And so that's cool. So when I go to the playgrounds, I'm able to test out overall things like setting up my system messages or whatnot so I can start playing around with in the web without having to write any code myself. So this is kind of gives me a little bit of testing out prompt engineering, which we'll show off here in a sec. All right, so before I start kind of generating my code through and the chat playground within the Azure OpenAI Studio, let me switch my screen over to the present, the others, that virtual machine I was talking about before. That way we can see it up and running. Let's see, here we go, add to stage, perfect. And so what this is, so remember when I said back before when you're launching that VM, and this is what you get. And so you can actually step through step by step within this VM. Over on the right-hand side, you'll see this with the header with the green, gives you step-by-step instructions to step through this lab. First off, how to provision Azure OpenAI resources, and then how to deploy a model, which we've already done with the GPT or the GPT-4o. And then talking through the playground, like what things to do so you can start learning overall. So to log in, I would go to password, and then really tiny, there is something that says a T, all right there, with the password. And so in order to use that, I can just click on that T, and you can see it fills into that text box. Hit that, and it's like I'm logging into another machine. Well, it is a virtual machine here. So away I go. Super cool. And this is all I'm going to show through here. And I can open up the Azure portal through a web browser. I could go back down. I have VS Code installed and so on. And so this gives me everything I need to go through step by step with the lab. Great. I'm done with this. No more showing this off. I'm going to go back to my other screen just so you can see it a little bit bigger and not have to worry about looking left and right, because I like messing around and doing things a little bit off. Share screen window. All right, we are now back to this. So the first thing I want to do is remember before where we wanted to, I was talking about prompt engineering. So prompt engineering, there's this thing called system messages. And a system message is like you're setting the overall guide, telling the AI or the model what its purpose in life is. So right now it's just saying you are an assistant that helps people find info. Well, we can tune that down, right? And so we can say you are a programming assistant helping people write code, like that. And then we can just say apply changes, hit continue. And now we just said for helping people find information, we narrowed the system message down to say, you know what, you're just going to help us write code. Cool. So the next thing that we want to do is I want to just kind of describe something here over in the, make this a little bit bigger, in the chat window of what I would like it to maybe do. So Jaflet, any ideas? Let's brainstorm something. What do you think we should do with the description here? What kind of app do you want to create?
Okay, so let's say for those who are probably watching this stream, maybe a couple of them are new to programming. So how about um, a program that can collect user details and do an addition, right? So create a program, a C# program that collects users information.
User information and
Yeah, and print it out. Okay, maybe we could try that out.
okay,
Yeah, let's start with that.
and print it out to the console
Yeah.
window. All right. So one thing here is that we want to, when we're writing prompts, be as specific as you possibly can. So instead of just saying print it out, it probably would have guessed where we wanted to. But when I say print it out to the console window, it tells it exactly what we wanted to do. So let's send it over and see what it pops up. All right. Using system void main. And console read key, oh, good, good, good. All right, so it's doing something like, enter your name, console read line, putting it in the username, enter age, enter email, thank you. Here's your information. Cool, that seems right.
Yeah, it does.
So now let's say, now save that information to a text file. So we're just kind of stepping on step by step here. We didn't retell it. It has that history. So we didn't retell it what it wanted to do, what we wanted it to do. But right here, we're doing file, write all string. It's just putting into the user info.text and just saying name, doing a CSV. I'm going to say, whoa, hold on. I wanted a JSON file. And I want to be able to enter more than one person until and keep on entering people until I type the word quit. So let's see what comes up now. Cool, so now it's doing something a little bit more, then we'll go back and look at what happened here. So we have a list of users. Oh, we got a class coming out of it now. Cool, and so while true, news up a new user. Cool, and so if we enter quit, we're gonna finish. We're gonna break out of the loop. And so then user.name input, reading the line, reading the email line, adding to it. So we're just going on and on in this while true. And then we're serializing users to JSON, giving it a nice little format, writing it to a user info file and just saying, cool, good job. So Japhet, what do you think? Just a couple of prompts and now we are writing the JSON and we have a full app.
Yeah, and I love the fact that you didn't have to make it super professional. You just wrote this the way it came to your head and it understood it. And then I noticed something that even while you made a little error, you inputted word instead of word, it still understood it and still gave you the right code from your prompt, which is super cool.
Yeah,
And I mean that's interesting.
yeah. That is cool. That it just kind of it does know. I mean, it's far enough to pick things up, and it's also cool that it's explaining what's going on here. So let's
Yeah.
do this. Now write that same program, but in F sharp. So it's going to do everything that it did before, but put it in F sharp, and we're just going to assume that it's correct because, hey, F sharp, who knows about that? You know what, Choplet? Let's jump back up to the first one here. It does define user. I was wondering if it defined user for us. It did. And here it defines user and
Yeah.
goes through. Cool. So,
Thumbs
yeah.
up to AI.
Yeah, thumbs up to AI. That's great. So the next thing, so really what we're doing here is that we're using this chat playground to just kind of brainstorm and collect our ideas, and we could copy paste things in. Like we could, essentially write a function that calls a web service which returns, and the web service returns a username and age in JSON, and return those values in an object, expect an input parameter into the function of a user ID and URL of the web service. So this is kind of being a little bit all over the place, right?
Mhm.
User ID and URL of the web service, and
That feels like a lot, but let's see
yeah,
if
it
AI
does.
can do the job.
And the user ID is appended to the web service as a route. Let's just see what happens. And I spelled route wrong. But it does pretty good.
Yeah,
So it's getting user info async, user ID, string URL, doing get async. So it's assuming it's a get and it's checking the response code, popping it into a user object. So it's assuming user is already defined and correct, but yeah, that's cool. And it even
yeah,
tells us, assuming the user can be deserialized into a user.
cool. Makes a lot of sense. So I can see a question in the comment section, and maybe I should just go over and ask you about.
Mm-hmm.
So, Manoj, I hope I got that right, is asking, is it good enough to create something which can create biceps or Terraform scripts for IAC, maybe with user inputs like create storage account which is in EastUS with HNLs enabled something. Okay, so Matt doesn't want to answer your question. He's going directly to AI and asking
Yep.
AI to do that. So let's see. EastUS.
Yeah. Well, let's do create a bicep file
Okay.
that provisions an Azure storage account. The bicep file should take a parameter that specifies the location of where the storage account should be. Let's see what happens.
Okay. Drum rolls. Let's see.
Cool. And so here's what we have. So location is right here, takes a parameter string of location, and we do have the bicep file right here. And it kind of tells us replace my storage account with your, and then how to call it, AZ deployment group create, resource name, where the template file is, and so on. So
Okay, cool.
cool.
So I hope that answers your question. Again, if you have any question, please be sure to input it in the comment section. If it doesn't, then you can clarify your question so we can respond to it. Oh, and he says nice. Yeah, it's definitely nice.
Yeah. Yeah, it's super cool that it can do that. And like I said, we're using GPT-4 within Azure, but if you did have access to other, like the Chat GPT from OpenAI 4, you can do the exact same thing because it is the exact same model underneath. So yeah, really cool. So the last thing I wanted to do is I'm gonna copy this and pop this in here. So what I have, and can I make this bigger? Unfortunately not, but I have this multiply function, right? Just all it's doing is doing some multiplication, blah, blah, blah. And so then I'm gonna do dash, 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 and then explain what the function above the is doing. So I'm just gonna ask for it what that is doing for me. So cool. So let's pretend I copied that function off the internet, like Stack Overflow or something. But I want to understand what it's up to before I copied it into my application. So it's saying, it takes two parameters, A and B, has a result, the 0, and negative, the false. So it goes through everything, right? So the first thing I want to do is say, simplify that function. Maybe this is pretty long. It's like A is less than 0 and B is less than 0, B negative is true. That's a lot. Let's do simplify that function. So that looks a little bit better. And it already has comments in there because that would be my next one. So I'm going to say comment that function a little bit better. So now I'm going through and commenting. Cool. And then finally, write some tests, unit tests. Cool. And so for me, I hate writing unit tests, but this is cool. It's going to be pretty thorough here too. It's going to write, it's going to write a test with positive numbers, making sure that 4 times 5 is 20. With negative numbers, -4 times -5, it also is positive 20. -4 times 5 is -20. +4 times -5, so it's swapping around the input parameters, -20, and then testing with zeros on each of the inputs, making sure they're all 0, and then going through and actually, here's my function. Cool. Yeah, so I copied something off the internet, made it easier, commented it, and wrote my test cases for it. That's awesome. All in a couple lines. Okay. So that's all cool. I'm in my chat playground. I'm doing a bunch of stuff. So I'm going to take a quick walk through of like calling out to Azure OpenAI, but from C#. So let's remove this. I'm going to add present, share screen, window.
So just before you go on, Matt, another
Mm-hmm.
question. Azure OpenAI Studio is available for all, is it not? Yes,
Yes,
it is available for everyone. The link to, once you go over to the Learn module, you'll be able to access the link to sign up for Azure OpenAI Service, and then you get access to Azure OpenAI. You could get started exploring and experimenting all of these amazing stuff that we're showing you.
absolutely. And AI Studio is super cool in that you get to play around with it. And so we're showing Azure OpenAI Studio, which is kind of a subset of AI Studio. And AI Studio has a bunch of other models like Phi in it, and like maybe all the Mistral models and Facebook's Llama models in it. So if you wanted to go beyond OpenAI models, you could do that just as well by going to ai.azure.com. So yeah, so we're just showing Azure OpenAI, but you could do a lot of other models running on Azure too. So, and Bruno and I in our very first episode of this series showed how to go ahead and do that. And I won't get into that with this code, but you can also write C# through a brand new SDK called the Azure Inference SDK, which lets you call all those modules or models, whether it's OpenAI or Mistral or Llama or Phi, with the same code. Like doesn't matter which one you're calling. You can use the same code, which is really, really cool. All right, so let me show off. I'm not going to spend a lot of time here because I want to have Joplet talk about his stuff, and I've gone on just a little bit long. But really quickly, what one would do from your C# code to call out to Azure OpenAI, and the module goes through this pretty in depth. What one would do is you can go to manage NuGet references, and this would be in any type of app. I'm running an actual console app here, but you could install Azure AI OpenAI, and that's going to be your NuGet package to call over to Azure AI. There's also this other NuGet package that we have, and I don't need it in this case, but it's called OpenAI. Now, this is cool, and you're not seeing, I don't think you're seeing it show up on my screen, but I have it highlighted with arrows, and it's the OpenAI one, and so I'll just highlight it this way. It's called OpenAI, and so this is really neat. This NuGet package for .NET has come from OpenAI. As you can, if you can read really closely, it says OpenAI by OpenAI. So OpenAI themselves, the company, is supporting .NET. And so that's a big deal. That's a really big deal. So anytime that OpenAI releases a new feature like assistance that came out recently, .NET has it on day one. Super cool, right? .NET is like on the cutting edge. And a lot of times people think, beforehand that, well, maybe .NET is, behind Python or something. No more. .NET is right there day one, which means Azure AI OpenAI, which is over on the Azure side of things. The models running on Azure is right there on day one as well with all the new features. What do you get when you run on Azure opposed to OpenAI? The difference is that Azure, you get extra, like you could get some extra security. So let's say right here, I'm running in Visual Studio. If I'm just calling like OpenAI, I need to pass a API key. But if I'm running in Azure and I have an Azure account, I can just say, hey, use default Azure credential when I'm trying to log in. And then everything passes through, like I'm logging in through like Entra ID or the old Active Directory. So it's using much more secure. I don't care about my API keys. And the same thing is if I had a web API running up on Azure and talking to Azure OpenAI, it just works if I start using the default Azure credential in my code, because then, as long as I granted that web service access on the backend through Azure, everything just works. And that's cool because I don't have to change my code at all. I don't have to manage keys. It's like making everything just work through Entra ID and granting the correct permissions and so on. So that's like one big advantage. You get nice, real enterprise class security when you run everything on Azure. All right, that is just real quick. Some differences between what you get with the SDKs, but everything is running cool and so on, no matter which one you go with. All right, so I just wanted to show off the code real quick on how one would call it. So when you want to new up a Azure OpenAI in your code, to call it, you would use Azure OpenAI.ai client, just say client. And here what you would do is pass it the endpoint. And then here you can either pass it the Azure key credential and pass it a key, or I could do default Azure credential. And I don't have the NuGet package installed for it, so you'll get the red squigglies. But by doing it this way, I don't have to worry about maintaining keys any longer. Cool. And then here is the assistant prompt that we do, where we set the guardrails, and then I'm just going to do a user prompt as string. And then here I'm going to tell it which model I want to use by saying, hey, overall OpenAI client, get me a chat client. And then I'm going to actually set into some chat messages, get me a specific system message, get me a specific user message, and then it's just complete chat async, and off I go. That's it. That's all there is to it to get um, completions off of OpenAI from Azure. I really should type, oh wait, there. So cool. Jofflet, what do you think?
Yeah, it's really cool. It's really interesting. I loved every single part you've shown to us and how easy it was for us to get done with all of our code within a very short period of time.
Yeah,
I,
that
I
went really.
probably should use it more and write some much more better code. Hope you don't get angry with me, Matt, if I do.
No, Jofflet, it's impossible for me to get angry. All right, so let me stop sharing my screen. I'm going to add this back to stage, and cool. So what we're going to do is that we are going to switch it over. We played around with some code, and now let's play around with something that's going to be super fun, is images. We're going to become artists. And Joplet's
Yeah,
going to show us how we can become artists without going to art school.
yeah. I mean, for
So
someone like me that's bad at drawing, it could be difficult coming up with images, coming up with the right text, and then you get to learn about as you progress, you get to learn about that there are some colors that are more appealing, there are some colors that should be used for some things, and some colors should not be used for some things. And so it might be difficult to actually come up with designs, come up with images, but AI is coming to our rescue. And I'm going to need the help of everyone that's currently on this live stream, including Matt, because you're going to be helping me with a couple of prompts. You're going to tell me what you would love to see, and I would be bringing it as much as possible utilizing the Azure OpenAI service. So in this session, we'll be utilizing Azure OpenAI Service, and it is based off this module. I'm sure it is readable. You will be able to access all of the resources here. So no worries at all. It's no big deal. Now, the link to this Learn module would be shared, and I'm sure Angel might have done that. It will be shared with you all so you can go ahead to start learning it. Great. So let's talk a little bit about how Azure OpenAI Service is able to generate images for us. How does he end up creating all of the amazing things, all of the amazing images that it gets to create? Now, there's something called DALL-E 3, DALL-E, and DALL-E is based off neural network. It's utilizes data that is imputed, your natural language, your inputs that are imputed into it. It picks all of those, and then it's able to come up with your image, generates your image for you. For example, you could say generate the image, an image of maybe a monkey or a squirrel or whatever, and it's able to generate it using the prompt or using the natural language that you have imputed. But how do you get started with it? First thing you will need to do is to create a resource
Joplet,
group,
can you share your screen one more time?
bringing that up in a bit. So here we'll be creating our resource group. Let me know if you can see my screen now.
And there we go.
Great. So this is easily accessible via portal.azure.com. Let me just increase this, and I'm sure it's much better now. So I come over here and I have to search for Azure OpenAI. And all I would need to do is, once this comes up, I'm able to find the source and create one. Just walking through this process for those who it might be their first time going over this, you need to give it, you need to have a subscription. Again, you can utilize the free Azure subscription that we have. You can register for it, and then you also need the Azure OpenAI subscription, which we also mentioned. We're going to share the link with you all in the description. You can decide to create a new resource group, but I already have one, so I'm going to use that. I already have East US as my region. So let me just give this to, I already have one created. I'm not going to create it because it takes some time to deploy and get this done. And because we don't have enough time, we wouldn't be able to go through all of those. But I just wanted to show you how you can go over it. Once you have inputted these details, you click on next, click on next, next, and then you can go over to click on create. But like I said, I won't click on create. So let's go over to the resource group that I had earlier created. Now notice from the resource group, I am given an option to go to Azure OpenAI Studio, and here I have Azure OpenAI Studio. Under Azure API Studios, I have images where I can come over and input prompts. I tried out a couple of things, so maybe you can tell me which prompts. Let's start with maths. What should we input here? For those in the comment section, tell me what we should include, what prompts you should include, what you would love me to generate. But let's start with maths.
How about a watercolor painting of an orca jumping over a container ship?
Jumping.
With
So
nope, an orca, ORCA, a killer whale,
yeah, jumping.
over a container ship.
Okay, so let's try generating this.
It always takes just
And
a little bit, because here we go. Sure, when this comes through, it's going to be mind blowing, amazing.
okay.
Chocolate, you could sell that right now.
Here's the interesting part. Whatever is generated here, you can download them and utilize them. So if, for example, you're creating this for your website, you're creating it for maybe your newsletter, for your publication, whatever. I mean, I feel like this is an easy way out instead of probably having to search online, go through lots of pictures, and probably have to pay for some of them, right? A side tip for you all who are looking to generate images. This is really cool. You could also decide to utilize the image playground on Azure AI Studio, but whichever you are utilizing, it's really interesting how easy it is for you to do this. But hey, there are probably some of us who are techies and love writing code, we love generating stores, we love doing cool things, and we don't want to do this utilizing the AI, the image playground, or utilizing the Azure OpenAI service. We want to actually try to generate this with Visual Studio. Well, for anybody like that, I've got you all covered. So I'm going to share my entire screen this time, and we're going to do all of these on Visual Studio Code. Right. So I have my Visual Studio Code open, and what I'll need to do is we have a GitHub repository. The link to the GitHub repository would also be shared with you. So let me just copy the link to the GitHub repository. And two ways you could get this done. You could click on clone git repository and impute the URL, or for some persons who are tech savvy who are probably want to do it the kind of a little bit complex way, you could do git column clone, and then the moment you click on it, what it's going to do is I would select a location. Oops, sorry, let's do that again. Git clone git. Okay, so guess we just do it this way, and then what's going to happen is we're going to look for the name of the repository, which is Microsoft Learning. Slash it's called the MS Learn OpenAI, and this is it over here. Yeah, I already have it saved up. So let me pick a different destination. This time let me use desktop. And it's going to successfully clone that repository for us. Let's just give that some minutes. Now this repository has a lot of the things. Oops, did I lose that? Yes, I'd love to open this. And here is the clone repository. Now notice that under lab files, you have, yeah, so trust the authors. Yes, I trust the authors. You should get this while cloning yours. So just be sure to click on yes, you trust it. This is the fifth image generation, and I have the code written out in both C# and Python, but we're going to be using C#. So in the Explorer pane, I'm coming over and I'm clicking C#, and here I have the app settings.json file. So let's go over and let's see what's going on here. Now notice that it's asking you to connect your Azure OpenAI endpoints. Let's go over to our Azure dashboard, and remember we created our resource group. So here in our resource group we have our endpoints. Open up. So let me reload this, and we should be able to see our endpoints. We're just going to need to copy that out and then impute it there. So let's give this some time. Back up. Let's see. Great. So let's click on this again. Cool. And here we find the endpoints. So this is what our endpoints would look like. So I'll copy this out, go over to Visual Studio Code. Come on. And would need to impute our endpoints there. So here is our Visual Studio, our endpoint. So let's replace this with our endpoint, and then let's go back here and copy our key. So copy our first key, hide this.
And I'm going to remove
And
it so
then,
nobody sees your key.
yeah, that's true. So great. Now we can get back on.
All right.
Cool. So let me quickly walk you through the next, which is program.cs, and I'll just explain some of the things going on in here. So first, it's connecting, it's configuring our entire solution utilizing our Azure OpenAI endpoints, which we have imputed here, which are copied and imputed, and then it's utilizing our Azure OpenAI key, right? Now, what is happening here is it's creating a more of like a new space for people to input their prompts, and then it's going to require them to enter their prompt. So it's telling them enter a prompt to request an image, and it's going to take note of the details that they are imputing using the console.readline feature. And then it's going to call the Azure OpenAI service, DALL-E 3, utilizing that to generate the images, right? But here's something interesting, and here's something you're going to see. The results of the images that are generated are going to be imputed in form of a URL. So you can click the URL and then you would get your image there. You can download it there. Okay, so let me not do lots of explaining. I'll come over and view, and then I'll just run this code that my terminal. So let me just run this in an integrated terminal. And here I'm going to do dotnet run. It might prompt you to update your version of Microsoft.NET framework if you're not utilizing the updated version, right? So be sure to update it to download the updated version, and you can see that it's requiring me to enter a prompt. So let's see in the comment section if we have any prompts from anyone currently on the stream. Let's see, none. Okay, so let's say we want to uh an image of the human. Okay, so I have one image showing the durable function. So let me just copy this out. Mm,
I'm
so
interested to see what this
yeah, I'm
comes up with.
interested to. So let me copy this and oops, sorry. So image showing the durable function pattern slash in pattern. Let's ensure I get this right. The image should be annotated slash represented so that a beginner can understand it.
We've really
Thanks,
gone
Ojo.
in a different direction of a whale jumping over a ship.
Yeah. But let's trust AI. Let's trust AI. And it's hopefully would surprise us. Okay, so drum rolls. Let's see what we're gonna get. And let's give it some time to brainstorm, to think, try this out. Okay, cool. And here we have a link. So when I click a link, the link, so let me open this link up. Oops. And the link unfortunately opened up in another browser tab. So let me copy this link out. And yes, this is what we've got. Okay, so mind you, I hope this was what you wanted, but
It has a fan on it.
uh,
Maybe an air conditioning HVAC system diagram that doesn't work. I don't think this is what Manoj was going for, but we it tried.
it came up with something at
Yeah,
least.
it
So
tried.
so let's try one more thing. Um, so let's come over here and oops. Let's maybe try something from Matt. So Matt, would you love to?
How about um, an 8-bit artwork of
Sorry, I didn't get that, Matt.
8-bit art of a
8-bit art of
honeybee landing on a flower.
honeybee bee landing on a flower. Okay, so let's see what Azure OpenAI has got for us. Okay, so let me copy the link this time around and paste it in here.
Not bad.
And yeah,
Not bad.
not bad either. I mean, not bad. So we are able to either utilize Azure OpenAI Service to generate what we need to generate, either via the via Visual Studio Code, or we are able to do that utilizing the image playground. So it gives us multiple ways to do that. Right. One last thing to mention, if you created your Azure subscription and you activated your Azure OpenAI service, you created your Azure OpenAI resource group, please, please be sure to deactivate or delete that resource. Don't keep it running. Whether you're utilizing a free version or a paid version, please be sure to delete your resource. And yeah, you can always activate it or create a new one at any point in time when you need to test out the amazing capabilities of Azure Open AI Service. Cool. So I think that's all we had for everyone today, Matt.
Yeah, yeah. Another slide. Don't forget to delete those. You don't want to accidentally run up any bills while you're testing and
Very
playing
important.
around. Yep.
Yeah, very important.
Cool. And yeah, don't forget the challenge and get credentialed. So, like I said, watch all the live streams, hit up that challenge playlist. So you'll see them. We're recording them. You don't have to watch them live, although we love talking to y'all so you can answer the questions live. Next one, we're talking about RAG, which is super cool. RAG means essentially chat with your data, upload stuff, and you'll be able to actually reground the model and the AI so you can ask questions of your own data, which is super cool. And then the last one on Thursday is all about responsible AI. Oh, take that challenge, and then at the very last, do the assessment, get credentialed with AI. So cool. Jofflet, thank you very much. I love seeing the images. Thank you for letting me come up with some too. I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
I loved how easy you made your session. Yes, thanks for showing me how easy it is to generate code utilizing OpenAI service. Like I said, I'm going to generate more code for us, for our team. So yeah, expect to see all of those AI generated code.
Great. All right. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Like I said, tune in tomorrow at 4 p.m. Pacific and then Thursday at 9 a.m. Pacific, and check out those links at any time. All right. Thank you all.
Yeah, bye.